Alayla Ani Bochia. Today we're going to speak about Rav Menachem Ziemba, who was one of the Gedolim of pre-war Europe. He was one of the main speakers at the Knessia HaGedola. It was held in 1937, which was the last major gathering of Gedolim in Europe before the Holocaust. And he became the chief rabbi of Warsaw. He was brought up as a ger chassid, a humble man, but a very regal and elegant man who was a tremendous Talmid Chacham who had tens of thousands of pages of Chidushei Torah that unfortunately went up in flames when the Nazis burned the buildings in the Warsaw ghetto, and he was gunned down tragically at the age of 59 and a half by the Nazis shortly after Pesach in the Warsaw ghetto uprising in April of 1943. But he left behind an amazing legacy, a legacy characterized by thoughtful discussions in Torah with the Rogatchover Gaon, a legacy in which he shared heartfelt chidushim of the Torah that resonate to this day, in which he spoke about the kedusha, the holiness of the land of Israel, consisting not only of a kedusha, holiness of the land itself, but also a holiness that emanated from the Beis HaMikdash. And he explained that the Mishnah in Maseches Kelim that speaks about the manifestation of the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael as the lowest level of Kedusha Hamikdash doesn't speak about the Trumos and Maestros and Shemitah and Yovel. It speaks about how the Korbanos of the Shtei HaLechem and the Omer and the Bikurim can only be brought from that which grew in Eretz Yisrael, because this has to do with the Kedusha Hamikdash, with the holiness of the land that is connected very much to what we lost on Tisha B'Av, to the Beis HaMikdash. He also spoke about how we have to go out of our way to come closer to a Kadosh Baruch Hu when there's a possibility of fulfilling a mitzvah d'oraisa, even if we're not sure that we're actually going to fulfill the mitzvah. This is a question regarding when do we say Safek d'oraisa l'chumra. Is it only if I'm not sure whether I benched, so I bench again, and I know for sure, at least now I fulfilled the mitzvah? Or let's say that it is the seventh day of Sukkot in Eretz Yisrael going into Shmini Atzeres. You don't sit in the Sukkah on Shmini Atzeres, but it's Ben Hashmashos afterwards. Do you sit in the Sukkah at that time? It's not a sure thing that you're going to fulfill a mitzvah d'oraisa. Maybe it's already the next day. But we see, the Ran says explicitly that you would sit in the Sukkah at that time. So he shows that Safek d'oraisa l'chumra applies even if you're not 100% sure, but there's a possibility of fulfilling a mitzvah d'oraisa. That, of course, becomes applicable nowadays with the possibility of fulfilling the mitzvah of techelis, because we're not sure if the techelis that was found is the real thing, but it might be the real thing. So this is an argument in favor of fulfilling that mitzvah, even if it's only a possibility that you can do so on a d'oraisa level. There is so much relevance to what he has taught us. But he also spoke to all of his rank and file Jews in the Warsaw ghetto, and he had opportunity after opportunity to be saved, to get out himself, but then he would abandon his ranks and everybody who relied upon him, and he wasn't going to do that. He stayed until the very end, and he said, Kiddush Hashem in these days is not simply giving up one's life when they are being threatened by the enemy, but fighting the enemy until the end and showing how much verve and how much vitality we have in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to repel our enemies. Very important words indeed for us to consider today. So we honor today the legacy of Rav Menachem Ziemba, Alayla Ani Bochia, HaKadosh Baruch Hu restore Yerushalayim, so that we should be able to celebrate and go, B'hafachti Evlam L'Sasan M'nichamtim Simachtim Nigona.